This is Wedding DJ School, your guide to the business of a wedding DJ. We're talking with leaders in the wedding entertainment industry. You're going to hear their backstories, how they got started, and where they are today. Hey, it's Josh Mitchell, and this is the last episode of Season 2 of the Wedding DJ School podcast. We have a really special interview ready for today, but before we get to that, I want to let you know that we're going to be taking a break to prepare for Season 3 of the show. So if you have any questions, anything you're curious about, record a voicemail or voice memo on your phone and send that over to josh@weddingdjschool.com, or you can reply by email to any of the action guides by texting Wedding DJ to 44222. So what happens there is if you text Wedding DJ to 44222, we'll ask for your email address and then send you over all of the action guides so that you can get to work and implement all of the great actionable advice that is in each of the shows. I want to encourage you to go back and check out those episodes from Season 1 and 2 that you haven't had a chance to get to yet. So much of what we talk about on this show is forever knowledge, which means that even as technology and culture and products change, there is so much that actually stays constant. So this idea of forever knowledge will really help you to stay resilient and continue serving people with excellence. So please check those out and immerse yourself in those resources that are available to you. My plan is to launch Season 3 on Friday, September 4th. So please subscribe in your favorite podcast app or on YouTube so that you can have access to that stuff as soon as it's released. Today's episode is a little different from our others. We're talking with Bill Hermann, who's a nationally touring and highly sought after wedding entertainer and master of ceremonies. I know that you're going to enjoy hearing him speak as much as I did. He's an excellent storyteller, and he includes such vivid detail. He's the owner and sole performer at Bill Hermann Entertainment. He created the Entertainment Experience, which is an international performance training company that trains and coaches performers and event producers with experience design so they can deliver authentic performance. He now lives in the southern suburbs of Minneapolis-St. Paul, Minnesota. So I hope you enjoy this conversation today and really just hearing from Bill and learning from his expertise, and enjoy the show.
Bill Hermann, DJ company, started out as Blue Chip Productions, but and that's my bank DBA, but it's Bill Hermann Entertainment. And I've been doing this way longer than I want to admit. I think I DJ'd my first party at 12. And my first party, I was following somebody around that I thought was cool.
So how many years have you been in this journey?
Well, I knew I wanted to be an actor when I was 5 years old. And not many people can say that they knew what they wanted to do. But it never wavered. I didn't I want to be an actor and then I want to be a cowboy or I want to be a fireman. None of that happened. I knew what I wanted to be when I was 5 and I went after it. And when it got to DJing, it didn't really occur to me as doing party DJing until I was about 12 years old. I'd always done plays and I'd always tried out for stuff, and I was in the community theater and pretty much just a spaz around the house with my old man, and anything to get me out of the house. I was in band and all that stuff. And local radio station got a license in the small town in Michigan that I grew up in, and my dad drove me out to the middle of of this place on the tallest hill in Benzie County to WBNZ radio on an afternoon in the big yellow station wagon we had. And he said, "Go on in there and see if you can get yourself a job." And I walked across the parking lot and up the stairs into the trailer that it was in, and right past the lady who was the receptionist without even giving her a look. And I walked right into the general manager's office, sat down, and I said, "Hi, my name is Billy Hermann, and I think you ought to hire me." And instead of being, who is this kid, and get him the heck out of here, he just smiled, gave me a little laugh, and he asked me, "Well, tell me why you want to do this." And we talked for about an hour. Mike Bradford is the guy's name. He's no longer with us, but he is pretty much the reason why I wasn't discouraged away from it. He gave me a broadcast quality tape recorder and one of the microphones from the station with a flag on it, the little thing that goes around the top of the mic so you can say what radio station you're from. And he goes, to take this and go interview people and come back when you've filled up these 2 90-minute cassettes. Cassettes being, little box things, go around like that. I'm really old. And so I did. I took this thing, took it to school. I annoyed everybody I could. I tried to be, a radio announcer, asking dumb questions. I ran out of friends and I talked to all the teachers. I ran out of teachers. I talked to all the coaches. I talked to my sisters and my parents, and I brought back this 90-minute cassette, and he sat down and he says, let's see if we can turn this into something about your school. So he had me transfer all that tape to a couple of reel-to-reel decks. And then I spent the next month and a half cutting that 90 minutes, 180 minutes worth of audio into 3 minutes of me talking about Benzie Central High School. And he taught me how to do an interview. He taught me how to do an intro and an outro, and we put that together, and he put it on the air. Paid me $5. Called it Billy Herman's School News and Report, and he said if I did it once a week, he'd put it on the air and pay me $5 each time. And I was thrilled. From that, I also went to the local newspaper, and I knocked on the door, and I said I could write for you too. And they, for some reason, said okay. I had a byline in the Frankfurt Record Eagle. Within a week, and I was doing sports for Benzie Central High School, and I'm only 12 years old, so I'm having a great time, and I'm fascinated by the people on the air live. And the morning guy, his name was Dusty Weatherford, and he once again is no longer with us. I'd come in there early so I could hang around him when he did the morning shows whenever I didn't work and didn't have school. And I found out later that he did parties, and he did a party at my church. He did a party at my school. He brought his own gear in. So I was, I know Dusty, and I'd spend, I was just an annoying little rat running around him whenever I could, begging him to let me, touch the gear and play with the stuff. And he then let me do a couple of things. Right? He let me bring his gear in. He showed me how to cue up records. He showed me how to hook up the lights, and soon, I was doing it for him. And so I was doing my first couple of things back when I was 12 years old. And mostly it was, the groups of the communities that I was involved with, like the church. The church always had 2 or 3 dances for kids, once a year. And then the high school, he'd be there, but he'd let me do it, and this was just another way for me to show off, right? I mean, I'm still an actor, and I studied Dusty like a character study so I could learn how to be a DJ, how you stood and what you wore and the kind of things you brought and the kind of music you played and what you said and when you said it and how you said it and how you did your intros and outros. The first party I did was on my own, rather, was for my parents. My father worked at the local hospital, and the nursing department had a holiday party. And he knew I did this stuff, so I said, yeah, I'll do that. But all I had was my parents' record collection, and my parents' big 6 foot long, 4 foot high, 3 foot deep console record player with the radio in it and everything like that. And it only had one turntable, and it had a long spindle. You put the record on top, and it fell through, and the thing went over. The needle came over and sat on it. And I wired the console up so I could hook a microphone in, and I wired it kind of through the headphones so I could speak on the microphone through it. In fact, I think I might have used headphones as a microphone. I think back, I almost don't even want to admit that, talking into the headphone. But I didn't know what I was doing. Right, I had my parents like 30 records, and they had things like Montavani, which was elevator music, right? And they had the soundtrack of Jesus Christ Superstar and Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and Sonny and Cher's Greatest Hits, and Helen Reddy. My mother was a big Helen Reddy fan, so "I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar" was a big song in our house, right? Um, so I get there and I hook all this stuff up, and I'm on a little stage, and everybody's out there, and I put a record on, and as it's setting up and the needle drops, I take them and I say, I say a couple of things. And mostly what I was doing is I was kind of like doing a radio show, because they didn't know what to say except for what they said on the radio. So it's like, well, I'd look up at the clock. I'd say, well, it's 7 o'clock. It is time for the Billy Hermann show. And the weather outside is cold and crisp, but right now I'm going to play something by Helen Reddy. I Am Woman, here we were. And I would just talk until the record would start, right? The worst part was, because I only got one turntable, as the song ends, I would come back on again. Hey, yeah, this is Billy Hermann, and welcome to the big holiday party. And I'd grab the record and I'd pull it off, and I'd put it, as I'm talking on the microphone, I'd put it back on the spindle, and I'd push the button, and it would go grrr, and click and fall down, and the needle would come over and it'd come down, and it would roll up and it would play. This took at least 20 to 30 seconds each time. Between every record, I am talking about nothing. Okay, whatever is in my spastic little 12-year-old brain is just spewing out into the speakers and in the whole room. And it took probably about 10 records before my old man came up, and he took away the microphone that I had wired up, and he says, "Stop it. If you don't have anything to say, just quiet." And that was my first lesson in what you can get away with and what you can't. But I was maybe 13, 14 years old. But I always did stuff, and I was collecting records before I had all of my gear. I had a large record collection before I had a turntable, other than my parents. And I was doing theater, and my 15, 16 years old, I got a job at a summer stock theater company in northern Michigan, and I got paid for that. And I did some parties while I was doing that, but mostly I was in the theater. I'd always taken theater classes. I always been, I was always into poetry and Shakespeare and plays like that. And my parents moved up to northern Michigan into a smaller town right up on Lake Superior, and graduated from high school up there. And when I wanted to go out into the world when I was 18, I just told them I was going to be a performer. And being a father, worried that I was not going to be able to make a living as a performer, said, "Well, you have to have a regular job. I mean, you should really think about college or school or things like that." And I had been working in radio. I had worked at that radio station down in the smaller town I was in, and then I came back up into Munising where I was, and it was a radio station there called WQXO that hired me because I had some experience, and I was a kid, and it was good for the community to hire a kid, right? So I really knew what I was doing already. I wasn't very good, but at least I understood the equipment, right? But to avoid college, I just found a radio school to go to, and within my neck of the woods in the Midwest, there was one in Detroit, and there was one in Minneapolis. Specs Howard was in Detroit, Brown Institute in Minneapolis, and Minneapolis at the time did not sound as scary as Detroit for a small town boy. So I moved out there, and I went to radio school to find out that I had learned everything they teach you in radio school, radio trade school. They teach you all the things you learn in the first years of actually working and getting paid. So I spent a lot of money to do that, but it was okay. But I was always doing parties, right? I was still doing parties here and there, and I was still collecting equipment, and I was working for a company out here that helped me to DJ a little bit and to do more things. And I worked at a roller skating rink whenever I could DJ or whenever I could be on stage. I really saw DJing as a way to be on stage, and to be the actor, right? I mean, even the part, like I said, even the part of being the DJ, I learned that as a part, as an actor. What do you do? The script is always the same. The things you say are all the same. The music you play are all the same. How you stand, how you smile. I understood that play, right? And I opened and closed that play years and years and years. And from that, I just kind of gypsied around the Midwest, from small towns in northern Michigan out to the East Coast, where I did some theater and some summer stock, and then back to Detroit for a little while, and then back to Minneapolis um, around 1989, 89, 90, yeah, 1989. And then um, I worked at a couple of nightclubs in Detroit, and I came here and worked at a couple of nightclubs. And from that, because you always hear your old man in the back of your head, you better have a real job. Because I was in the restaurant and nightclub business, I started to kind of see it, and I started to understand it, and I got promoted into management while I was still DJing. And then the last restaurant job I had, I was the operations and general manager of two of the nightclub restaurants at the Mall of America in the Minneapolis area. I had over 300 employees under me. I worked for the Gatlin Brothers. They had a country bar up there called Gatlin Brothers USA. And but I'd gotten away from performing. I was still doing parties every once in a while, but I'd kind of gotten away from it because I'm growing up, right? Got to be a big guy, and get that real job. And this is just for fun anyway. And when I quit that job, it was the way everybody should quit every job. At least everybody should quit a job like this at least one time in their life. That's what I'm trying to say. It was it was right out of a movie. I burned the place down on the way out. It was nobody that I left happy. But I also hadn't saved $1. And I wasn't sure how the next thing was going to come. And the only thing I knew I was good at, other than being in the business of restaurants, was being a performer. I wasn't really trained to do anything else. And I'd kind of trained myself to do it. So I kind of decided, I decided that if I was going to do this, I should start my own business, and I should build something unique, or I would just be another blip on the screen, and that's going to be fighting for crumbs. Because I was at the point where I'd left, I was, I wanted to do well enough to have a life. I, like a lot of young men and women that DJ or start DJing out of high school, I mean, really all you have to do is to make enough to make it to your next rent check, right? You're just doing well enough to 15 days away from your next bill, get it paid. I was doing okay. I was doing fine. There wasn't anything about building anything of lasting importance or having a bank account or anything like that. So this was a new place for me to go. And the only thing I knew about being a performer was if you don't show up as something different, then you're kind of lost. Just another carbon copy of something else out there. So that is when I began trying to create the business that I do now as a wedding DJ, entertainer, MC, experience creator, whatever you want to call it. And it kind of takes me through to this, to where I am now. And I've been doing it a long time, the hard way, learning, school of hard knocks and making terrible mistakes. And so, and I've been okay. I sometimes wish I would have had the resources that people have now to be able to learn the craft that I wanted to do. But I don't know that it would have mattered, because you really don't do that until you're ready to do that, right? The teachers were there then too. Just, I could have cared less. I knew what I was doing. And I was, DJing was for, to do it for fun, to meet girls and to drink beer while you work. If you get paid, even better, right? That was the whole thing. So the idea that I could do it and make a life wasn't really in my wheelhouse until I started to find out if it was possible. And I was sitting in, well, I better figure it out soon, or I'm going to have to go back into the restaurant business. And I could have. I made a lot more money when I did that. I still don't make as much money now as I did back then. But I'm so much more happy and fulfilled, because I go at this as an artist as opposed to a guy playing music on a big sound system. And it took me a while to kind of take you through the little journey, but I don't know if there's anything in that that's interesting to you, or you have questions about. I know that I left some stuff out, I'm sure, but I just kind of took you through the timeline.
No, absolutely. That's fantastic. I think about as early for you as 12, 13, 14 years old, there was this drive, there was this, um, desire to kind of get after it and figure it out for yourself. And whether that was inspired by your old man or whether that was something that was just, a part of your person from birth, you were determined to figure it out, whatever that looked like. So you sought out these opportunities and you figured out how to wire the headphone to the speaker. And I talked to some people today that are like, oh yeah, I'd love to make some money, being in the wedding industry, or I'd love to make some money being a DJ or something like that. And I'm always just curious to know, do they have that drive, that inner drive to figure it out? Like, I don't know how you figured out how to wire the headphone the way you did, but it's like that's the mentality. And I noticed that for the people that achieve, the people that perform, the people that bring it, that is, it's just a great illustration of the kind of attitude and mindset you need to have through your career.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, at the time, I didn't think of it as that. At the time, I was like a kid who had a rubber ball that wanted to play with it all the time, right? And it's got to be another way to do this, right? And it was not even that as much, even that it was that I was a show off, and I was most happy standing in front of people going ta-da. So do that with music, great. Now, I played drums, but I needed a band for that. Okay. Nobody would stand and watch me just play drums on my own. So I can't get a band together, because I'm too much of a spaz or whatever was going on. I was in band, just another way for me to stand up and go, look at me, look at me, look at me. Get people to laugh, get people to cheer, that fed me. A lot of actors will tell you, I mean, it's the audience, it's the on stage time, it's the getting the audience to respond to you in some way that's the drug, right? And because I was a different kid, I wasn't into sports, and even if I tried to get into sports, I was terribly uncoordinated. So I got picked on and things like that. So I needed something that I could do and be okay with. I could do on my own. Radio. The thing about radio is I could do it without anybody in the room. And I didn't have anybody staring at me, but I could also be on a stage of thousands of people listening, right? And I could create, and I could be in my own little world, and I got to have that. I got to create something in the universe. I mean, I also painted, and anything when it came to art, it was like, how can I express myself? And a lot of actors will tell you, I feel more comfortable on stage than I do in real life. Well, I did. I was really good at kind of creating my own little world. Now, whether or not that's a thing that drove me to continue to be in it, I mean, those things wanted me to be a part of this little world. But it wasn't until, like I said, that when I quit that job in the restaurant business, it's like, okay, so could I do this for something more than beer, girls, and money, right? And a little bit of money, not even enough money. It was beer money, really. It wasn't. I had to do enough of these to be able to make rent, and it wasn't really helping. Even when I didn't have the restaurant job, and I worked at the nightclub, and I worked at the roller rink, all these DJ jobs I had, I still also was a janitor, or I was pushing snow, or I was doing these things that gave me a regular paycheck, because the regular paycheck came from the things you hate. And extra money to do something you love is like, this is a bonus, man. I mean, come on. So now I'm going to take the thing I get my bonus money from and try to make a living. I struggled. I lost money. I didn't make rent several times. I I had to go out and find extra work doing other things, which is one of the first things you figure out is, you try to throw yourself into the idea of doing weddings or any kind of parties, and you're not making enough. You can either quit, or you can realize that making money is not the hard part. Making money the way you want to make money, that's the hard part. So if I don't make enough money doing enough parties, there's people who will pay me usually more money than what I was making doing weddings to be able to make my rent. So I was doing things like working at a convenience store, or waxing floors at a grocery store, or working overnights as a security guard. All these things I hated, just because if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to do this other thing, and I'd be homeless, right? Um,
Yeah, so it's kind of that idea of like once you know what that passion is that you enjoy doing, you can kind of put up with some of the other stuff in your routine because it's enabling you to be able to spend time doing the thing that you love.
yeah, enabling is an interesting word, isn't it? It's almost like an addiction. It's like I can't not find the things that are going to enable me to do it. It's like, oh no. Yeah, it's so yeah, so to be able to, like, the idea of doing this and making a living at it, it's a hard place to get to. Okay. I struggled with it for a really long time too. And I still talk to young men and women like you do, who say, I really want to find a way to make a living at this. But the problem lies in, it's more of a mental decision to do the hard adulting necessary within the business to be able to make enough money to be able to do nothing but this. When you do it part-time and you're doing it for fun and you're doing it, and you got all your other time wrapped up in another job that pays your bills, you can only put so much time and effort into creating something else in weddings, right? So there's only so much good you can create. There's only so much you can do to be better at it. So, okay. So now what? It's like, if I'm going to be good at something, I got to put my whole heart into it. To put my whole heart into it, I need to make enough money, or somebody's got to I got to win the lottery or something. Or you can look at this the way you never really wanted to, as a business. And business is not fun for the creatives. It's not. It's still not. I don't enjoy any of the business part of my business. I am successful despite the fact that I'm a kind of a crappy businessman. At least with my own money. I was good in the restaurant business with somebody else's, but with my own money, I really, really suck at it. I've got my wedding business. I've got my voiceover business. I've got my training business. I don't want 3 businesses. Oh, dear God. I don't. I just want to do the things I'm good at and get paid to do it. So, and I know I could make a lot more money doing it if I could focus more on the business end of it. Now, that coming from me, people who think I'm very successful, okay, and I am, to a degree, from the eyes of people who watch me, people who want to be like me, they look at me and they say, he's really successful. I am, because I've chosen something I want to do and be, and I've made enough money to be able to make a life. Okay, I've got a home, I've got a wife and 2 kids, I've got a couple of cars, I've got a boat in the water. Okay. I struggle with all that stuff financially, but I do okay. I do just well enough, right? To build beyond that, you need to have a piece of you that really enjoys the business end of it, or is good enough to understand the business end of it, to be able to find the people that can help you by running it. Because you can't just give it away, right? I can't just give my accounting stuff away. I've got to understand accounting well enough to know what the accountant is doing, right? So I need to know accounting. I don't like accounting. I don't like doing it, but I can tell if my accountant is ripping me off, right? And I know how to redirect an accountant to be able to do the job better, so they can save money and I can make more money, right? And then you have to make hard decisions about being compensated for what you do, because it was about it was the moment that I figured out that I could make enough money doing this. Is I was sitting in an audience of colleagues at a mobile DJ conference in Las Vegas in 1998, when on stage there was a guy who told us all that we could make a living at this. And there wasn't very few people in there that were single operators like myself that were actually making a living doing what we were doing. We were just doing it and trying to be better at it, right? And he turned around and says, $350 a show? You could triple that. You should triple that. Go out and triple that. And for some reason, I connected to that. And I'm sure if you do enough of these interviews, you'll hear the name Mark Farrell. That was the voice I heard. That was the person that inspired me. He's still to this day a very close friend of mine, and probably my strongest Well, not probably. He's the strongest business mentor I have, and performance mentor I have. And I went that day. I realized that I either have to go all in or I need to quit. So I went back home and I tripled my fee from 300 to, well, I not tripled it. I quadrupled it. I went $1,200 overnight to a lot of the agents that covered me and said would never book me for that and would say they wouldn't. They told me they weren't going to do it. And I went from the amount of shows I did the year before, I doubled the next year at a price that was 4 times as much as I was charging. And from there, I just started raising my prices and starting finding ways to use that money now to invest back into my business, because I never had investment money back into my business. I was still using used gear, for goodness sakes. Every time I needed a new speaker, I bought used gear. Well, now I've got money, right? Money I can either go crazy like I did when I was earlier, and I got the money and I spent the money and I went and made more money until I spent the money. Or I could start putting it back into the business, which is what I was doing. And from there, learning the hard way, okay, now business is important, marketing is important, training is important. Every one of these things takes me another level to where I want to go. And when I got to a place where I started to speak to the industry, I was told by one of my mentors that if I'm on a path to mastery, the next path to mastery would be to teach. And that's when I decided to create my training company and workshop. That's been okay. I got somewhere around 32 students a year, 2 workshops. I do 16 people per. And I've been doing it since 2011. And my goal is to make a difference in these people's lives and not to teach them how I do things, because I don't. I hope that by the time I'm done, they're way better than I am, not as good as I am, which is really the goal. And within that, what I'm doing is I'm becoming better at being able to define who I am and what I do, as well as making a difference in an industry that has been really good to me, that I've taken from, because I've learned from other DJs and other wedding professionals, and after you do something long enough, unless you're really bad at it, people start to ask you, what do you think? So that's kind of where I am now, and I still do weddings because I only do 20 a year now, but that was decided. It was another one of those business decisions. How much do I need to charge to only do 20 a year and financially be okay, and to be able to put all of my attention into only 20 a year? Well, that's a bigger price than I ever thought I would ever charge back when I was a kid. And even that, I'm still not making enough and making as much money as I did when I was a general manager of a major nightclub chain in the Twin Cities area. So is it about the money? It's about the money enough for me to have a family and to be happy and to have a few extra things that I'd like, and to give back to my community, my local community and my community at large. It's enough. Could it be more? Yeah. Do I get compensated for the training? I do. Why? Because the one thing you learn is every bit of time you put into what you do is worth $1. Because if you don't get paid for your time, then you can't spend that money on the time you have off. And as you get older and you have family and you have kids, that time off is the only thing I'm working for. That just costs money. If I don't make enough money, then I can't take 2 weeks for my kids. I can't take a Saturday off in the middle of wedding season if I don't make enough money. And my kids don't care about the wedding season, right? My wife would like to go on a vacation in June or in September, when in the Midwest, it's the busiest time of the year. And for years, I couldn't do that because I didn't understand how money was time. So now here I do a training thing. Okay, great. Well, I can give that time away that I was saving for my wife, or I can be compensated for that. Or the voiceover work. There's a lot of people that like me to do my voiceover for them for nothing. And I did. But that was, once again, there's the time involved doing that and doing it well. There's equipment involved. The microphone I have is not an inexpensive microphone. It's broadcast quality. It has to be. The equipment in my office, as much as it looks like a mess right now, What you're not seeing is what's necessary. You know that. You do this, right? So to be not compensated means, once again, that I've gone back to when I was a kid, and I'm doing it for grins, giggles, chicks, beer. I'm doing it to show people how cool I am, as opposed to just using the skills that you've been working on your entire life, so that one day you can use those skills every day. I mean, a guy, digs ditches every day, he becomes a ditch digger. And if he works on it all the time, he becomes a master ditch digger. And you can be a master ditch digger who makes millions of dollars a year. It can be done. I know people. That's what they do. They dig ditches. They make millions because they're better at digging ditches than anybody else. They committed to it. They're passionate about it. Well, you can do the same thing doing this. Do the same thing as a performer. I always thought, like I was told, that you had to be famous. Being an actor means, there's 100 guys standing behind you waiting for your job. So just be happy. Just be happy you're getting paid. There's a lot of guys. And that's not just acting. That's DJing, right? That's dancing and singing and karaoke and all those things that the business community has convinced us that, hey, there's a million guys standing behind you who'll do just as good a job as you. And we just go, okay, as opposed to, well, let me prove you wrong. Let me show you that no one can do this job the way that I do this job, the way you like the way I do this job. And if anybody else comes in here and tries to do this job, you're going to be unhappy. That's why you should pay me more. That's compensate me to do this job. And that's where kind of a lot of guys get stuck, right? It's like they believe what they've been told since birth. It is designed to keep you from asking for more, right? You're not showing any value. You're not speaking to the like bar owners. Bar owners are a really weird one. People, I can never get more out of a bar owner. There's always a guy that's going to steal it from me for the $50 less. Well, yeah, because the only thing that you're showing the bar owner is that you think you're cool, as opposed to, let me show you, sir, how having me here makes you 3 times as much, 5 times as much, 10 times as much as what you pay me. The business owner is listening now. He thinks like a numbers guy. And we want to get money from business owners. We need to think like business owners instead of like other DJs trying to impress other DJs. It's just a big contest between us all. But when we talk about dealing with business people, they want to hear numbers. So why do you need to learn your numbers? Well, there's one right there. Do you want to make any money? You can do this for free. Lots of people let you do it for free. But even in that, there's a lot of competition. You now got to compete against the other guy doing it for free. It's like, that sucks, man. You should at least be able to do it for free. No. There's 10 other guys that'll do it for free. Well, why would they hire me for what I charge when there's 10 other guys that'll do it for free? Well, then therein lies the rub, right? That's the thing that you need to figure out in business, because everyone will do your job for free. My neighbor will do my roof for free. Why wouldn't I just let him? Why would I pay another guy $5,000 to $10,000 to do my roof? When the guy next door, he did a roof. He said he did a roof. He seems confident. He said he loves doing roofs. Let's let him do it for free. Right? We as DJs we think that we're kind of alone in this, but it's the small business community. It's mostly, I think, the micro business community. It's the single operators. It's the micro businesses that have 10 employees or less that are fighting for what they believe are the only scraps available, as opposed to create the better mousetrap, right? Create a value that they can't do without. Create something that they can't not pay for. Because there are people out there that will. Not everybody. Everybody wants to, which is a great place to start.
Absolutely, yeah. And I love pointing people to the voices and the resources of people that aren't just gonna, sell them, blow sunshine at them, and just tell them, hey, this is gonna be easy. So I love all the stuff that you're talking about. It's like, okay, if you really want this, you're going to have to really want this, and
Right.
it's going to come with a whole lot of things that, it's not this red pill that you swallow and then
Yeah.
everything is peaches and cream. So I love hearing just the rawness of you speak, and
Well, and
want to
it's
pass that
frustrating
along.
too, because that's what people want, right? They think they
Yeah.
want the red pill. They want, what's the magic trick? It's like, that's why I only do 2 of these a year, because I turn away more students than I take on. Yeah, I
Mm.
only got 16 seats, and honestly, it's going to cost you more than you think it's going to cost you, and it's not going to be what you think it is.
Right.
So if you really think you're going to be here for 2 days, to me telling you, okay, well, pay attention, I'm going to give you all of my paperwork, and I'm going to tell you all the lines I use, and I tell you all the
Right.
jokes I tell, and I'm going to tell you every song I play. That's not, look, trust me, you're already doing okay. No one would allow you to stand in front of their friends and play music if you weren't
Right.
good at it.
Yeah.
Okay, now you want to be great at it? Okay, here's the path. And the whole workshop is really, here are some paths for you to explore how you can be better, and how you can create something unique. You've got to create a unique voice. I don't want to mess with that. Okay, a unique voice unpolished only makes you so much money. A unique voice polished, that's what the workshop is about. It's like, okay,
Right.
so here's some things you need to know about the entertainment business, and how storytelling works, and how staging works, and how you can use your instrument that you had zero idea how you could use your instrument as a
Mm.
voice artist, as a mixologist, as whatever those things are. And all of these things come together in weddings, and now all of a sudden, I've never had anybody take the workshop that didn't go out and at least triple their prices, because they went, I'm doing that? All of that stuff is on me? Yeah.
The last question, or last thing, if you wouldn't mind riffing on this, is this idea of personal touches. What are personalized touches? What does that mean? And what's a takeaway that either we could implement today, or just what does that mindset mean to you of doing personalized touches?
Personalized touches. Well, I take on that when okay, we're talking about weddings, or we'll talk about any event. Okay, unless you have a theater like the Fox Theater in Detroit, and they're going to come and see you perform. They're buying a ticket for the Bill show. Then your personalized touches are the things that are going to make you shine, right? So you have an act. You've got this is the Bill show. Pay attention. I hope you like it. You paid a ticket. You're probably gonna. Here's what I do. This is my act from beginning to end. It doesn't change. Here's my act. What I take on as a wedding professional, especially weddings, is that every single client that I take on has their own thing that they're trying to celebrate. A wedding can be a wedding. Okay, there's a format of weddings. We all know that, and there's such a great format to weddings that there's a business built on a format to weddings and receptions. Okay, all you got to do is plug in vendors to fill the expected format that most people are going to want, and everybody wants to have something different. Oh, but mine's going to be different. But they still fall into the format. Okay, the only thing they think they can change is what color the flowers are, or the linens, or what candles they use, or whatever those things are. That's all they have, is to be able to do that. I know that from my world in theater that anything now is possible. They're hoping that if they change the color of the linen and the time the wedding starts and the dress she wears and the tuxedo he does and the music list they give the DJ, that sometime along the way something will happen that will emotionally move them. They're hoping that will happen. Okay, they're hoping that they'll see their father tear up for a moment and they'll, there it is. Oh, it was worth every penny of the $30,000 I spent on this wedding. Look at that. Look at that. But they're guessing. They're hoping. They're taking 30 grand and they're putting on red, and they're spinning the roulette wheel, and they're going, come on, red. But if they don't get it, they knew that it was a gamble. They still had a $30,000 dinner party that maybe people stuck around for, and 14 people begged the DJ to play a bunch of music the bride didn't want to hear so they could dance to it, right? That's what they think they're going to get, because that's the ones they've been to. Me, I believe that I know that with what I know about theater, I can get to know the client well enough to start to hear the magical things they really would like to have happen, really. Okay, the things they know they can't have, but they hope that they would. Okay, they want to have an entire room gasp and get goosebumps the moment that they step to the dance floor, to the center, to have their dance with their husband or wife. They want that. They're not going to have that. That only happens in movies, but that's what I want. So I got to spend enough time to hear what they really want. If they had a magic wand and could have anything they wanted, how would it look? What would they say? What would people say as they left? Would we affect every last person? Or would we just scare away the adults until we can play the really cool EDM music that you guys want to hear at the night? Or would everybody be involved? Well, everybody, but that's not how weddings work. Great. Why are you spending on money on a wedding that you don't want to go to? Right? It's like, so personalized touches for me is, how do we now take what you feel and share what you want to express so that the room loves it. Now, what you have what you have at your fingertips at a wedding is that everyone there, you have one thing in common with every person that came, okay? Or everybody they have the one thing in common, that they're there for these two people. At whatever degree they're at for why they came for those two people, they're still at a degree of, we came for them. We have lots of other things we could do today, but today we have this in common. We're all there to do this for them. Now, for some people, it's just, we're here to just show up so they can see my face, that I came and ate their chicken, but I don't stay for weddings. They're boring, right? And other people are coming to show up to find out what they can do to make sure the bride and groom's day is amazing. Most people would rather do that, but they have no idea how to do that. The job of the master of ceremonies, the person who's going to be the most visible person in the room, is that with everything you do, make that an expression of that. How do you show them that they can do a thing that will affect the couple? And affecting a couple can be just dancing, or it can be that you allow yourself to be affected by this thing. Romantically, you can feel the romance. You can love the sentiment. You can cry at the right time. You can have a moment of sentiment because you hold the hand of the person next to you, okay? That you leave saying, this is the most touching, moving thing I've ever been a part of. Everyone wants that at a wedding, because movies about weddings, people they lean into. Even the toughest, scariest guy, he wants to cry at your wedding, but he's never invited to. Now, I can't invite a room full of people to cry if I don't understand my couple. And if I understand my couple in a way that their parents hardly even understand them, at least understanding why they're creating this thing, right? If I don't understand that, then I can't stand there and actually move them to that. Because as an artist, as an artist on stage by myself for the Bill Hermann Show, I'm expressing who I am, and you come to see that expression of me. And you like that because for some reason you've connected to me. And that's one level of being a performer at a wedding. The best level, if you ask me, is that you come as an artist that is now being commissioned by the couple to express on behalf of them. Now, you can't do that without knowing them. And when you get to know them really well, then the touches you add become actually personal touches. It's not, personal touch is not, what song do you want to hear for your first dance? Okay, and you're just asking a question that everybody asks. Okay, why are they dancing to it? Okay, how do they want people to be reacting to it when they do? Okay, when you introduce dad for the speech, how do you connect everybody to why it's important that dad does this speech? Have you talked to dad about what he's going to say and why it's important to him? Have you talked to the kids about the fact that they're either nervous about their dad talking or excited about their dad talking, or the fact that he's always a talker, or he's really good at telling jokes, or every time he speaks, he makes everybody cry. Now, with that information, can I just say, and now here's the father of the bride? Or can I be able to open my mouth and say, David, you all know David, and we've all been getting excited about this speech, or we've been nervous because, David, you give him a microphone, but you know something? This is the father of the bride. If you're a lucky man, you get one of these. And today, he's going to share this with all of you. Excited now, aren't you? Here's David. Now, that just made that about David and about how we want the room to be affected by David. Now, David, the father of the bride has to really insult everyone in the room to not get what I just asked them to give him. He's got to now get on the mic and say, yeah, well, you all suck. Never liked all of you. And in fact, on the way out, I'm going to collect $55 per plate for every one of you people to get them to go, oh, I never liked this guy. Okay. Now people that don't know him are leaning in because they know somebody like him. Personal touches for me is to be able to express, really, truly express on behalf of these people. Now, do I do it with words? I do often because I'm good at it. You know, I'm good at writing and speaking. I'm a good actor. But when I'm doing this best, I'm not really acting because I've gotten to know them. I've gotten to personally know them. So the touch that I put on their wedding is actually personal. And that's a scary place for people to go. In a world where the wedding has become a format and all we have to do is show up and plug ourselves into that spot and get paid, how much harder do you want to work? The problem with it is the format now is there's now expectations of what you charge if all you're doing is plugging yourself in. DJs get this, photographers get that. They're all the same. Just pick one off the shelf, pay them this average price, and the wedding will go fine because the format works no matter what. Well, people are starting to realize that the format doesn't really work. At least doesn't give them the kind of satisfaction that they would love to have for the kind of money you need to spend. And there's enough conversations out there about, oh man, wedding people spend way too much money in weddings. Weddings are just a big waste of money. Yeah, I would tend to agree if you don't take it on the way I'm talking about. If you don't really try to go out and get your money's worth by doing at a wedding what you really want to do as opposed to what the wedding industry has told you that has to be done, and then hopefully it works out. It's now, you're not going to, people don't necessarily talk about that much, like online. Nobody ever gives a bad review to a vendor. I mean, it's so rare, it's ridiculous. No one wants to say that they made a poor choice at their wedding. So you never hear anybody, well, that DJ I got was awful, or that photographer was terrible. They don't want to do that because they don't want to tell anybody that their wedding didn't go perfect, right? But in retrospect, when they're talking to other people where we make most of our money, which is everybody talking to everybody else, they're like, oh yeah, weddings are kind of tough. You know how they go. That's why people will step in and say, oh my gosh, don't do this, because I've seen that and it doesn't work. But I found when it comes to being personal with my clients that any idea they give me is a great idea. It's not about the idea. It's about how it's presented. You present any idea well to a room full of people and they'll follow you to the ends of the earth and think it's the greatest thing they've ever seen. You really have to be bad. You need to be doing it. You need to do it more for you than for them. And that's the basic answer to how do you make it personal is quit doing things for you and do it all for them. You want to change your business tomorrow? List out all the things you do and then tell me why you do them. And if the answer is, well, because I want to, well, then change that one because you said I want to. Why are you doing that? Are you doing it on behalf of the client? Do you do it actually for them or do it for you? Do it for you gets you so far. Do it for them. Nobody does that. That's business doesn't work that way. That's why we're always so dissatisfied oftentimes with the things we get because we're getting what they told us we have to have because that's what they want. As opposed to if I've got somebody who's willing to do for me, listen to me, give me what I want at using all of their tools at their behalf to be able to give me what I want without taking a bow on their own so I can take a bow. That is so rare in business, period. It's even more rare in the wedding business because it doesn't jive with systemized business, right? Systemized business means we do it this way every time because this is what our systems are and our procedures are, and this is our expenses, and we do it this way every time. Then this is where our expenses are, and this is where my profit level is. It never changes. That's business. That's great business. I don't have to have a problem with business, but it doesn't jive with really. But let me change the way I do things to be sure that you feel comfortable and you're happy, and still succeed. still give you a successful evening. Let me have enough conversations with you that you understand that the thing you want isn't necessarily the best thing. You really don't want that. Let me tell you why. Okay. And if I change it this and this and this to the idea that you will still get now what you want, you get the thing that you wanted to get out of it, which is the thing you are magically hoping will actually happen if we change that idea and change it to give you that. Now that is, once again, people don't expect it. And when people hire me, that's why. Because I don't have rich people hiring me. I got lower income to middle income people that really thought that they had to have a wedding. I have to get a DJ. I have to, no, they don't want to get one. They don't want to get a photographer. They don't want to spend $50 a plate on 150 people. They don't want to do that. They have to. Now, how do you switch from I have to I'm excited about it? And if I can get them from there to I want to, I have a client. Now I have to be sure that it's a client that wants to work with me because it's collaborative. A personal touch comes with, I can guess, I can try a game, the shoe game can be a very personal touch. But if you're just doing a shoe game, then it's not. It's just the same shoe game you do for everybody, and everybody's seen a shoe game, and it's gotten so overused in DJs that brides and grooms know what it is, and they even say, "Oh God, don't do the shoe game." And that's too bad because it's a great game. It's a great game, but it's because they see the DJ saying it's time for me to stand in front of you all and be entertaining. And they didn't hire us for that. If I was famous, maybe.
On a practical note, do you, when you meet with clients, are you doing this face-to-face? Do you do this over video call?
Exclusively, well, face-to-face means I can do video call, and I do. Almost exclusively, it's face-to-face in the same room, where we can smell each other's breath, But because, once again, I've been doing this way longer than anyone would like to hear me say I've been doing this. You do something long enough and you become someone who doesn't just service your area. So I travel. Okay. This year alone, I've been all over the country. I've been overseas. I did Alaska not very long ago for the second time. I've done Oregon. I've done California, Idaho, Las Vegas, Florida, Michigan, Connecticut, too many more to mention. Wisconsin, of course, Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, all over. And I did that. I do that because I just decided that I'm no longer just servicing an area. Mm-hmm. The internet gave us a gift that, the world became very, very small. So I service my planet. Because of it, I've flown to Australia. I've flown to England. I've gone to Alaska. And if somebody calls me and wants me to be in Italy or Greece or Moldova, okay. There's fees involved, but that once again, now that becomes the business of it. And once I say that I serve the planet, I'll be able to say, this is how much it is. Well, plus it's airfare, accommodations, transportation, the PIA fee, which is called the pain in the ass fee, which means I got to fly someplace that's going to have to take an extra day, which is now I'm giving up a day. I'm giving up inventory. I'm going to get paid more. You need to be unafraid to say that and say it with confidence. And I've been lucky, I learned this stuff the hard way. So when I say that stuff, and my colleagues go, "Wow, they paid that much to have you come to Alaska?" It was just a matter of fact. That's all. In the middle of the wedding season, they'd like me to give up my entire weekend and come to Alaska, into a small town. Okay, I flew into Anchorage, but I had to drive another 4 hours into a tiny little town in Alaska to do 100 people in a tent. Okay. These people should not have wanted me to come out there for the money that they paid me. Okay. But the value of having me a part of what they did made it so that every other dollar they spent made it important to them. Anybody can have that. The photo booth guy can have that. The dress person can have that. What is your personal touching also creates a personal relationship that has them say, I can't do this without him. And my marketing is all personal. I don't advertise anywhere. I'm doing my second bridal show ever coming up in a couple of weeks. And only because I belong to this community of single entrepreneurs single operating entrepreneurs that they're doing a bridal show, and I went, well, okay, but I market to people. I don't even market to people online, really. I still send letters and cards and thank yous and birthday wishes to over 2,000 people a year. Everybody that I've ever come in contact with is willing to share with me their birthday. I'll send them a birthday card, and that reminds them that, oh, that's Bill. Oh, yeah, Bill still does that. Oh, I think I just heard the other day that Mary's getting married. I'm going to tell them about Bill. That's personal, right? I'm a personal person. I'm an open person. I like the fact that I can be open and authentic and vulnerable in the world. And I don't want to be not that just because I have to be in business, right? And if people want to hire me, it's because they connected with me. They connected with my vision for their day. They wanted something meaningful. And they know that I care enough because of our personal relationship to find that meaning, even if they don't know how to express it yet. So, as you can see, the idea of being a personal touch to the client can touch every facet of not only your business, but your life. That's another place you kind of get to after a certain amount of years. You're like, this is who I am. I don't want to be another person. I don't want to be the actor in front of you, the character I created, and then not be that person somewhere else. I can, but I've spent a lot of therapy getting over that one. So
That's good stuff, Bill. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm learning so much from you just listening. I'm like, okay, that's great. Back to never stop learning, never stop improving. It's good stuff. I want to thank you so much for being a listener of Wedding DJ School. You can find us over at WEDDINGDJSchool.com. Also, you can text Wedding DJ to 44222. We will ask for your email address, and in return, we will send you all of the podcast action guides for season 1 of Wedding DJ School. So you can do that for free just by texting Wedding DJ to 44222. Lots of actionable advice that you can put to use right away, all for free. Well, this marks the close of season 2 of the podcast. Thank you so much for listening all the way until the end. I'd love to see you over in the community at WeddingDJSchool.com. Check out the articles, post a comment. I will respond. Would love to see you there.